next project is going to be how to draw a foreshortened person. Foreshortening means when something is really close to the camera, so like a hand, a foot, some part of the picture, and then the rest of it goes back off into the distance, whereas you can see it gets smaller as it goes back. The idea is to show a cool kind of perspective so that it's something that it looks three-dimensional and you have the perspective and it doesn't look so flat. One of the things that you need to keep in mind with foreshortening is the hand or the foot, whatever you have closest, always is going to be larger. So if we look how big this hand is, look how big the head is. It's obviously going to be smaller than the head is. And then on this picture, the leg is coming towards you and then the other one is going away. So the picture that I used to do this one as my reference image was this right here. And what it was is it was just a boy that was reaching forward, reaching for something. What you can do is you can find a reference image you would like to use, or you could actually take a picture of somebody else or yourself. And then usually what I recommend is have it so that the camera is closest to the hand or the foot that you have up close. And then it gives you that foreshortened look. Now the idea is that you want to get it in correct perspective. So if I am going to draw this out, what I'm going to do is, first of all, when I go to draw it, I'm going to draw how big it needs to be on the paper. So the hand, if I'm going to do something like this, the hand would be about this big. So I'm just going to make a big circle to kind of show me where the hand would be. Then, if I look proportionately to the face would be back here. So I have kind of like a line here. And then the head would be probably about right here. Now it depends on the perspective that you have. Some of the perspectives are going to be a lot smaller, so depending on where the camera is, the hand might be bigger than the head, like a lot bigger than the head. This one too is you have the other arm, and the other arm is coming back kind of like this. And if you look, it almost looks like it disappears back there, like it's that small. And the perspective of it is going to kind of throw you a little bit. So you want to keep in mind, you want to just go by the picture, not necessarily kind of what your brain is thinking it needs to do. And then when you go to do the rest of your picture, so now here, because the hand is really large, so if this is the thumb, I'm just going to put a thumb right there, my knee is going to be pretty large as well. So it's going to be, kind of like this. Then the rest of the shirt is going to kind of come in like this. And then the rest of the leg, obviously I made mine a little bit smaller so you can see it on the screen here. And then the rest of the leg kind of falls off back into here. Now, one of the things you need to keep in mind too is because you've drawn hands before, you already know how to do hands. And so that's why I usually recommend hands. They tend to be a little bit easier for this particular project. You can use feet if you'd like, but it's completely up to you. You would go and you would do your fingers. And you want to make sure, obviously, that you have, the right angle. Now, this angle is a little bit different because you can see the inside of the hand, and then it goes kind of like this. Now, part of it is going to kind of throw you just because the perspective is a little bit janky. So you want to just keep in mind, you're going to follow along with the picture and then go from there. So one of the things, too, I always like to mention is depending on the angle of your hands, because this hand is kind of turning off a little bit, you can decide, if you want to change it up a little bit. Like this one, for me, it looks like it's a lot easier just to turn the fingers or have them bend, because if you're looking straight at them, it makes it a little bit more complicated. So this would be kind of where the hand would be, and that's how large it would be. Then I would go back and I would draw in the face. Now, if you noticed in my picture, I changed it from a boy to a girl. It doesn't really matter, but you want to still we've done faces before, so you still want to do, proportion of the face. So you have, your correct proportion, and hair. So I could just do this one a boy. And then you want to make sure that you are incorporating all of the lines of the shirt and the perspective of it. Now, once I start putting this together, it's starting to make a little bit more sense, and it's starting to look more like that original picture. Now, I can take and I could change it any way I wanted. Now, this one, if you look, his hand is really teeny tiny back here, and it's going to kind of throw you off a little bit. But keep in mind, once you have the entire picture done, it's going to make a lot more sense. And this one, you can't even really see the hand that much, so I'm just going to kind of make a hand back here. So it looks like there's a hand in the back. But the idea is to have a picture of someone using their foot or their hand that's close to the camera, and then the rest of it farther in the distance. You also want to include any type of background. So this one, because it's like the ceiling, it looks like it's in school. So a ceiling, so you would incorporate that. Other things that you would incorporate, anything else that you would see in the distance. So back here it looks like a door frame perhaps, so you could incorporate the door frame. So if it was the door here, if there are any other types of items in the background, you're going to want to include that as well. Also, when you're doing it, you want to make sure that you include all like the folds of the clothing. That is what's going to make it look like it is more realistic, and it's going to give you more of that effect of the perspective. So like here, where his shirt is, and then I can see coming down here, and you can see part of his shirt down there. So you can actually see how it kind of comes together, and then these will show, you know, the arm coming through like that. So the requirements are to draw a person using foreshortening, so a hand or a foot close to the camera, the rest of it behind. If you look here, there's some others that are the same sort of thing. So you can take and you can find an image online if that's easier, or you can come up with your own. Like mine, I just came up with the image that I found, and then I changed it, some other parts of it. So it's completely up to you how you want to do it. And then it's going to be shaded with pencil, black colored pencil, and Sharpie. So when you go to do your pencil shading, it'd be the same as usual. So you're going to take your pencil and do your shading. You can use a blending tool if you'd like, or you can use your fingers, Kleenex, whatever you got. So you would do your shading. And so if I'm using a Kleenex for this one, I would, you know, obviously smudge it in here. Now, the idea is to use the different values. Now, gray, when you're using just a pencil, is only going to give you one value. Well, if you start in and you start taking in other things, so like here, if I want it to be a little bit darker, I'm going to take some black colored pencil just to make some of the shadows just a little bit darker. Okay, what that's going to do is it's going to give you more contrast, and it's going to make it so it's not so smudgy like it would have been like for just the pencil part of it. So you can go in with that. The other part you can do is if you really want to have a lot of added contrast, you can go in with the Sharpie, and I usually recommend like the extra fine point Sharpie. And what you can do is you can add in just some small spaces so it has even more value difference. Now up close it might look kind of weird, but when you look at it from a distance, you're going to get all those neat values, and then it's going to start to look more realistic. Now we'll look at mine again, and I'm going to point out where I have all the different values. So in the face, for example, most of it is pencil. In the lips, I have some of the black colored pencil, and same as in the hair as well. And then I wanted the eyes to stand out, so I went through and I added some more of the black Sharpie. Same with behind the hair, so that it gives you a little bit more depth. I don't know if you can see that very well. But the idea is to do it very subtly, but it will give you that really cool effect so that when you look at it, it's going to look a little bit more 3D and a little bit more realistic.